Welcome to the Fantasy Football Show on Sikkim 365 Radio, presented by Brotherwell Brewing and Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac.
Motion man Landry. Mayfield sells the fake. Mayfield rifles. Touchdown. Landry.
Here's Paul Catalina, Steve May, and Grayson Grundhafer.
Welcome into the Fantasy Football Show. Merry Christmas, Steve. I did a new open for us this week. A lot to get to on this show today. Paul Catalina, Steve May, Grayson Grundhafer from the Austin Bureau. Later on in the show, we're going to welcome in a good friend of mine, a comedian, Kostaki Economopoulos.
Yes.
Who'll be fantastic on the show tonight. Real funny dude. I've known him for a few years. We met at the Super Bowl in Indianapolis. We were fast friends, and we've hung out at Super Bowls ever since. And I don't think I saw him in Miami this year. I don't know if he came to Miami. We'll have to go back, or last year in Miami. But we certainly hung out a lot in Atlanta, which is his hometown. He and I hung out in New York. He took me around New York, which was lovely one time. So a lot to get to with him. He's a big fantasy football guy.
Did you just want to say all that just to brag about how many Super Bowls you've been to?
I've been to 10 now. I mean, or 10 radio rows and 3 games, so yep. I'm batting 300 on, get the game cred. So,
and I've known you since 2005.
I'm not in charge of any of this.
Have you yet to be invited?
I'm not in charge. I don't get to invite anybody. I mean, it's,
not what I heard.
Grayson, have you ever been invited?
I haven't been invited, but I have been to a Super Bowl, guys. I've been to one, and that's because my dad and I grew up in Indiana, so I'm a huge Peyton Manning fan. So my dad and I went to Super Bowl 50.
Nice. Okay, there you go. Well, see, there you go. I've been several times. I had to watch. Here's the thing I had to do. The last one I was at, the highlight of it for me was watching Justin Timberlake at halftime, who, dude, puts on a show. I'll just tell you, puts on a show. I'm a fan. Mm-hmm. I'm a fan. I wasn't a fan before. I'm a fan afterwards. I was kind of like a fan of only SNL Justin Timberlake and not music Justin Timberlake. Yes. Then I saw the show and I was like, well, this guy works. Good for him. That was the highlight of it because it was -9 in that frozen hellscape they call Minnesota. I don't know why people would live there. And 2, I had to watch the gosh darn Philadelphia Eagles win a Super Bowl and watch a bunch of people going, let's go get hoagies and tear the city apart. I mean, it's just... The good news for Minneapolis is that it was too cold for the drunken Philly hooligans there to do anything. Like, it's kind of like that old Eddie Izzard bit about going into Rush, like, oh, it's a bit cold, That's kind of how they were there. So I don't know. I've been, I watched the Packers beat the Steelers in Dallas, mm-hmm. which of the 2 teams as a Cowboys fan you wouldn't want to watch win a Super Bowl in the town you love. Those are the 2. Yep. I did get to watch Ben Roethlisberger cry though. At that one. So that was almost worth it.
There you go.
Like, he wasn't like ugly crying, but he was certainly crying.
And I was rooting for the Packers in that one as much as it hurt to do that, but yeah.
Yeah. All right, so before we get to Kostaki in the next segment, this is the last week of the regular season in most leagues.
Right.
This past week. So playoffs, let's get into that, Steve and Grayson. Start with Steve. What are some things for the playoffs that people need to be keenly aware of and things they need to watch as we move into, nut cutting time?
Yep. Oh, you're talking that way, huh? Well, a couple of just basic rules for me as you're going into the playoffs for any league that you're in. If you're not in the playoffs, if you didn't make it, don't make any more waiver or free agent claims. Just go, if you have a consolation bracket in your league, just for the hell of it, just use the roster you have. And
I do it so that people can see what they would have scored, just to sting like, oh, I scored 140 points this week.
Yeah,
great.
And so let the teams that are in the playoffs, let them have the waivers and the free agents. That's just, to me, that's just a courtesy. Also, if you didn't make the playoffs, don't go in and cut all your players. I've seen that happen before too. And if that happens in a league that I run, I go in and put all those players back on that roster. Because again, that's, if you're throwing out Derrick Henry and Aaron Rodgers all of a sudden, and then somebody in the playoffs who hasn't used those players the whole season all of a sudden adds them, it's an unfair advantage. So, the first week, like the leagues I run typically have 6 teams, so the top 2 will have a bye. So in our league, I snuck in. I needed you to lose, which happened.
I kindly obliged, Steve.
So I snuck in, and I'm not feeling too good about my chances, but I do like so waivers will run tonight in the morning. So one thing I do look ahead in the playoffs, I do pay a little bit more attention to the defense matchups. Mm. So if I'm being positive, I'll look ahead. Okay, who has the best string of 3 games here coming up? So if I win this week and then in the semifinals and then make it to the finals, what's a defense that I can ride that whole way? And actually, Green Bay looks good for that. Tampa looks good for that. So that would be a tip I would throw out there. Yep.
All right, Grayson, what do you got?
Yeah, so I agree with Steve for the most part, unless you're in a keeper or dynasty league or a league where you get an advantage by winning your consolation bracket, which there are some leagues that I'm in on. So you have to play the waiver wire because you got to try to win that. But as far as some other things, one thing that I actually did this morning because my waivers ran today was go through and look at the teams that made the playoffs that you might be playing and possibly predict who they're going to try to pick up off the waiver wire, especially if you have a lot of free agent money, which all of my leagues we play with Fab. So I had saved up about $23. So I actually blocked or was able to block the other teams from picking up 2 guys that people like off the waiver wire this week, J.D. McKissick and T.Y. Hilton. So it just kind of gives you an advantage there. So that's one thing I definitely look at because, I mean, at the end of the day, fantasy football is a game and you want to give yourself the best chance to win. So doing something like that, I highly recommend. And then also, like Steve said, looking ahead to scheduling, you definitely want to do that. And one position in particular that I think gets overlooked is defense a lot of times. And right now I have the New Orleans Saints defense and I'm feeling great about it. The problem is next week they play the Kansas City Chiefs and it's, am I going to want them for that matchup? I don't know. Am I willing to keep them and possibly punt a week at the defensive position in the playoffs? I don't know, but that is definitely something to look at as you move forward. Look for teams that have good matchups on the defensive side and just offensive players in general.
Yeah, all good advice there. I made the playoffs in 2 of my 3 season-long leagues. The only one I didn't was yours, Steve. And how about this for a gut punch where you go 5 games left in the season, 3-game win streak, and then to end it, 2-game losing streak. By the way, I neglected to thank our wonderful sponsor.
Yeah, I started with that. Sorry.
Brotherwell Brewing.
Yep.
That was a good one there, Grayson. That was a good one. A little hidden herd tonight for all of us.
Yep.
I like it when we're all on the same page. Kostaki's going to be mad. He doesn't have any of this. He's a big beer nerd as well. So
I saw his on his Twitter feed. He looked like he's just now kind of diving into the craft beer world. So in the Florida area, my favorite is Cigar City.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yes. That's my old stomping grounds. Yes. T-Town.
Yes.
That's what we call it, Tampa.
Is it?
Yeah, that's what the people like. People from Tampa, you'll be like, where are you from? Like, T-Town. You're like, why don't you just say Tampa?
They do that in Troy.
Yeah. And then why do you like Tampa? Like strip clubs. There's lots of them. They're all over the place. They're like next to like a Starbucks and a strip club. Like that's the Tampa, how it is.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's why so many that's why I thought when Gronk signed in Tampa, it's probably good that COVID happened in that regard, and that the Bucks can be like, oh hey, listen, it's closed, man. You can't do it. You can't go.
Yeah.
And so he has to focus.
He's got to pick up the Starbucks on his way to practice in the morning, right?
Exactly. So this last week. Major injuries. I'm trying to think of any that would affect it.
Antonio Gibson.
Antonio Gibson, yeah. Especially with turf toe, and you have 3 weeks of playoffs. If you have him for he could be, even if you get through 1 week, he could be gone 2. So, that's really a tough beat for that. If you lose Antonio Gibson as he was starting to get going.
Yeah, that's a big one. And on the flip side, it does look like Christian McCaffrey is going to come back this week. So Mike Davis, again, like I said last time, if you have Mike Davis, I know right now it's really tempting to cut him. In one league, I may actually have to cut him just because I need to pick somebody up. But if you can afford to hold on to him and you have McCaffrey, or if you don't have McCaffrey, I would, just to see how healthy McCaffrey is.
Yeah. Yep. McCaffrey, again, you have to deal with that. I'll say this for having that having to cut somebody. I almost had to make that decision this week with Clyde Edwards-Helaire not playing, or being active and not playing. That was
rough.
That was really rough.
And that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, he had illness, but he was dead. So I was like, all right. And then Andy Reid's like, I'm not going to play him.
Yeah,
we're just playing the Broncos. And okay, here's another thing. Grayson, we'll start with you. The Eagles are starting Jalen Hurts at quarterback. I don't think that's going to help them all that much, starting a rookie. Your thoughts, Grayson, on Jalen Hurts starting, and does that help anybody? Dallas Goedert's going to probably get his because he's, sure-handed and all that. But Miles Sanders hasn't been helped by the fact that quarterbacks aren't good. They're not even running the ball hardly. And that'll be more carries away from Miles Sanders or Boston Scott or whoever. And the receivers aren't helped out with it. Your thoughts on the Eagles, Grayson?
Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting move that they made. And one thing I will say is a lot of people are talking about how, bad Carson Wentz has been this year. And it's totally fair and definitely true. But I think the offense as a whole just really hasn't been very good. Their offensive line has been shaky at best all season long. Their receivers have pretty much all been hurt. Alshon Jeffrey, Jalen Reagor, even Ertz and Goddard have both missed a lot of time this year. So I don't think any quarterback really matters. And I'll also tell you that with Jalen Hurts, everyone's been talking about how, the defense that the Eagles face is going to be not as good because you don't have Carson Wentz making terrible decisions. Well, I watched Jalen Hurts at Oklahoma an awful lot, make a lot of terrible decisions. So I think he's very liable to have a couple turnovers in his first start against New Orleans. And I would stay away from everyone in that game except for maybe Miles Sanders, just in case he gets enough dump offs. But interesting stat, the Saints haven't given up a 100-yard rusher in 3 years. So I would not expect him to do a whole lot on the ground. And therefore, I don't see that offense moving a whole lot.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, Goddard is probably. But other than that, what are you doing? They're so bad on offense. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, it is. And it's amazing the very quick downfall that they've had. But yeah, Goddard would be the only one I would go with there. I have Sanders on a couple of teams and he was struggling anyway, but the fact that they're going up against the Saints, the over-under on that game is only 44 points, so they're not expecting a ton of points, probably mainly from Philadelphia. So, I would avoid everybody there if you can.
Yeah.
Is Ertz back this week, guys?
It's still up in the air. It's up in the air again, kind of like it was last week.
Yeah, and I think Goddard is maybe the long-term solution there.
They're
going to have to save a lot of money because they can't do anything with Carson Wentz.
No,
he'll be there next year because no matter if it's June 1st or after, $59 million are on the hook for him, no matter what happens next year because of his contract. All right, we're going to take a break right here. When we come back, comedian Kostaki Economopoulos joins us here on the Fantasy Football Show on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to Sikkim 365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, This is Danning with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Welcome back into the Fantasy Football Show. Paul Catalina, Steve May, Grayson Grunhafer, and our Austin Bureau. And Grayson, I brought this guy in mostly other than the fact that he's my dear friend, Kostaki Economopoulos, but you guys can commiserate about people mispronouncing your names your entire life. Because it's happened to Kostaki. You and I, where were we at the Super Bowl where you couldn't buy a jersey with your name on it?
That's right. To this day, the NFL shop has a maximum of 13 letters for jerseys.
Yeah. So you could have gotten
make it.
Yeah, you could have gotten a Economopoulos, right?
That's right. That's right. It's my name's 13. The max is 12. That's right. It's
that's surname.
Keeping Greek man down. That's BS right there.
Surname discrimination.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's funny. I recently saw a picture. My brother has a jersey from his son's high school team, and that says Economopoulos. So a high school soccer team in Georgia can handle 13 letters, but not the NFL.
Not a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Right.
They've got to have rules, I guess. Kostaki, you and I, we've done bits on the radio for years, and you've got all pro lines now. You've been doing quick snaps forever, doing football-centered comedy. How much of your comedy does come out of you being a fantasy football nut, though, and like having to experience the pain and then writing the jokes on that?
Wow, you know what? It's hard to measure, but basically all of my interest was sort of surges from my fantasy passion. Like all the details, following the story arcs. This guy got fired, and this guy got cut, and this guy was, drafted too early, and this guy blew his knee out. Like all of that to me is fascinating because of fantasy, and so I'm a lot more informed as a football fan because of fantasy.
Yeah, it's wild. I was telling these guys how we met. Super Bowl in Indianapolis a few years ago. You were there as you are with Bob and Tom, and then it just became a fast friendship.
That's right. Yeah. Well, we're both comics. We both love football. It was sort of an easy match. And you've been generous for years, having me on telling my little football jokes. It's been good fun, man. Yeah.
By the way, I think I just tell you, as a comedian, to write like very specific things about one sport, I got to tell you, you've got a narrow window, my friend.
Yeah, it's a little daunting. Some days I'm staring at a blank page. I'm like, I need 20 good jokes by Monday afternoon. It's a panic.
Here's what I want to know about Kostaki. I was looking at your Twitter feed, and the only thing I want to know about, there's a picture of you with a stack of Omaha steaks.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, how the hell did that happen?
It's a sponsor. It's one of Bob and Tom's sponsors, and Tom has been trying to help out the comics, especially lately. He knows we can't work in our traditional ways, so he threw a little extra plug in with the Omaha people and got me some big box of steaks.
Holy
I'm very excited about it.
Man, I was instantly jealous of that.
Yeah, right.
All right. So Kostaki, you are a big Atlanta Falcons fan. So look, Grayson's a Colts fan. Steve and I are Cowboys fans.
Yep.
So the three of us this year have, we just have similar pain.
Whoa. The Colts are 8-4, man.
I'm just saying the three of us outside
out here.
The Colts is good. They're good. Don't worry about them. I was very close. I didn't want to be that guy though. When the Cowboys won on that onside kick, I was very close to calling you and saying because Nick shouldn't have won that game. I mean, that was just the stupidest thing ever. But how you were feeling in that moment.
Whatever. The Falcons, this is not their season. It's fine. But just that level of incompetence is actually astounding. to just stand there and watch the ball spin. They're just all standing and watch. You're allowed to touch it. In fact, that's the whole point of you being here, is to jump on the ball.
That for the new Cowboy coaching regime, that may have been one of the smartest decisions they did, because they said they purposely kicked it towards the Cowboy side, so the Cowboys coaches were over there yelling, "Don't touch it! Don't touch it! Don't touch it!" And the Falcons guy listened to the Cowboy coaches on the sideline. And looking back on it now, though, I'd rather Atlanta have won that game, because that probably cost us a little higher draft pick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. At this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at the time, you still had hope.
Oh yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yes. I remember hope.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's been a while. My Falcons have been dashing hope for a part-time job for years. But the Cowboys, we thought they were going to be good this year, and they had flashes, and then it just all went away.
I know you though. You're enjoying it.
Oh, I love the Cowboys being terrible. That's great fun.
Is it good for comedy?
Oh yeah, of course. Cowboys, the 1 star, not just a logo, also a rating. Come on, everybody. Silver and blue.
Yeah.
Here's the frustrating thing for me as a Cowboy fan. So I'm 53 years old, and so grew up, mainly in the 70s and 80s when the Cowboys were doing well, and then in the early 90s. So my oldest son was born in 1996. Mm-hmm. So none of my boys. They've never experienced the Cowboys in a Super Bowl, not even in the NFC Championship game.
It sounds like you're probably telling them, like, when I was wee,
yes,
when I was
exactly.
a wee lad.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's where my hatred of the Cowboys came from. When I was a kid, I remember they would do this thing where the offensive line would all do this shift. And I just found it to be so pompous and off-putting. I was like, I hate this team. They were great. I mean, that was a great team when you were a kid. That was a cool team to root for.
Yep.
Yeah.
How did your fantasy teams do this year? Where are you sitting, Kostaki?
I have Fat Bottom Gurley is doing pretty well. No thanks to Gurley this month. And my other one that I'm pretty serious about, I'm in the playoffs. I've got kind of a low seed. That starts this week. We'll see what happens. And the third one, my Quick Snaps, the podcast listener league. It's a 16-teamer deep bench PPR league.
Nice.
I picked first. I picked Christian McCaffrey, and I'm in 16th place. It's literally the worst fantasy team I've ever had. My first pick was Christian McCaffrey, and then it goes down 16 picks and then 16 back. And my next pick was Odell Beckham Jr.
Yep.
And then I get the back-to-back pick, and I go Melvin Gordon. It's a who's who of gigantic 2020 disappointments. Yeah.
Golly. So you had to wait 32 picks to do that.
Yes, it's absurd. And last year I picked last. We do it randomly, and my team was great. So you never know. You never fantasy.
Man, you got time to run to the store and run a couple of errands before it comes back around to you.
I know it's actually kind of heartbreaking because you could see a run begin and the middle and the end of the whole arc, and all of those guys are gone before it's your turn again. It's preposterous. And of course, you need a good running back or two, and there aren't that many. And then of course you get one, and then he gets hurt. You're screwed. There's no picking up a running back on the waiver wire in a league like that.
Is that a 1 quarterback or 2 quarterback league?
That's just one.
So here's a good for those deeper leagues when that the scenario you just described. If you make it a 2 quarterback league, everybody's picking the quarterbacks early. So then the running backs and receivers are still there when you get to rounds 3, 4, 5, 6, and so.
Well, that sounds great, but in a 16-teamer, how are you going to get 2 quarterbacks? Some teams wouldn't have 2 at all.
Yeah, that's right.
You got
do 32 teams. So. Yeah.
I mean, you got to have everyone's got to pick quarterback the first 2 rounds
That's exactly
just to make
right.
sure you get one.
Yep.
And then, of course, whatever. Dak Prescott goes out, and then where are you?
Yep.
Yeah, look, you're rolling with the Red Rifle, who I'll tell you on the air the other day, Kostaki, when I was talking about Andy Dalton, I mistakenly called him the Red Rocket, which our producer and interns reminded me is a term for a dog phallus. So. which is about how the Cowboys have played. So
yeah, that's right. That's a good new slogan or a new mascot.
So far on this episode, you've talked about nut cutting, strip clubs, and now dog fallacies.
I just said, look, Kostaki's been to Tampa. What is in like when you go to Tampa? What are there? There's like Starbucks, seafood restaurants, and strip clubs, right?
Yeah, strip clubs everywhere.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
It used to be Highlight too, but that's gone. Strip clubs have remained. Highlight's gone.
Yeah. Both places you lose money.
Yeah.
But
that's right.
Yeah. All right. So you want to go ahead and do our daily fantasy draft right now?
The showdown?
Yeah, the showdown.
Yep.
So, Kostaki, every time we have a guest on the show, we do this every week. And
does he play daily fantasy?
Do you play daily fantasy at all?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
good
love
deal.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, so we always do of course, last week there wasn't a Thursday game, but we always do a showdown league draft. And you are now drafting on our team.
Okay.
If we win the
Patriots?
Yeah, Rams Patriots. So if we win the big one, then you're cut in for whatever, a fourth of it.
All right.
Deal. So the
most we've won one week is $5.
We won $5.
So don't get excited.
And we owe like $1.25 of that to Jarrett from Bowling for Soup.
Yes.
So,
Oh, it's funny.
Yeah. All right. So since you're the guest, we will let you make the captain pick in the draft.
That's high pressure. Wait, we got all right. What did who were some of the? Okay, let's just start blurting out the key players. You got the two quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You got Goff and
Newton.
Newton. Those would be top two choices on the board.
Yeah.
Right?
And again, the captain costs more money in a showdown league.
It's 1.5, right?
Yeah, it's 1.5. So Cooper Kupp is at 14.4. Robert Woods is 13.8. Damian Harris is 13.2. Akers is 12,000, which is shocking to me. 11.1 for Henderson. Let's see. Julian Edelman still has COVID. James White, 96. So Josh Reynolds is 8.4. Tyler Higbee, who scored a touchdown last week, 7,500. And then on down the line. So,
by the way, I love it when Yahoo alerts me by going, your player is out of the COVID protocol and just in regular IR now. Okay, thanks a lot for the heads up.
Yeah. Well,
oh my goodness! What was your surprise on Akers? Because he's still just a part of the backfield. He's not really the main guy yet.
Yeah. Of course, he scored a touchdown the last 3 weeks, so that's probably
he could be emerging. That's what we're hoping for, right?
Yeah.
He was on the field for over 50 snaps this last week, so I think he's.
Well, Henderson was a little gimpy, though. It's hard to measure.
Yep.
You can't trust McVay with those guys yet.
And Henderson was 3 for 46 last week. I mean, I don't know how he didn't get more carries than that, but played well.
He did have a nice touchdown run. Yeah, I think you got to go a little traditional here. You got to go Goff, right?
All right, 16-5 right off the top.
Okay.
All right, I won last week.
Okay.
In dominating fashion.
Yes.
in our league. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Robert Woods. Feeling good about Robert Woods this week.
Like it.
All right, Steve, you're next.
Let's see.
By the way, we have $24,000 left, so we're averaging $6,000 a player.
I will go.
You got to get some bargain basement guys mixed in there.
Yeah.
Let's get a Patriot here. I hate the Patriot receivers. They're just nothing. So, let's do Damian Harris.
They're cheap, though, I bet.
I know.
All right. Damian Harris at 8.8. We're at $15,000. Grayson, your turn.
Wow, y'all aren't going to give me any money here. Huh? You're going to make me pick the sleeper.
Look, I'm going to make Kostaki pick right after you since he's the guest. So,
okay.
So he's got less money.
Yeah, I'll leave the big dogs for him. So how about I go with a way down the radar guy, but why not take a shot? We'll go with N'Keal Harry for 1,800.
Okay,
nice. There
you go, bargain basement. All right, Kostaki, to you now. We have $13,700 left.
I think I want the third Rams receiver, the funny-looking tall dude. What's his name?
Josh Reynolds.
Josh Reynolds.
Yeah, let's put Reynolds in there.
All right, listen, that's actually gives us a lot to work with in that he comes in at 5,000, so we have 8,100 to work with, which puts us in Cam Akers.
That's up to you. It's your call.
Yeah, listen. Look, he's a Florida State Seminole. I feel like I owe it to him. For being the only watchable player on that roster the last couple of years. So there we go. Jared Goff, Robert Woods, Damian Harris, N'Keal Harry, Josh Reynolds, and Cam Akers. Boom.
I like it.
It's done.
It's pretty Ram heavy. All right,
entered.
go Rams.
It's entered in there. And so, again, maybe we can help make up for how many gigs have you actually done in the last few months?
But none. And live, none. I've done a few Zoom things here and there.
Yeah.
I had a couple corporate Zoom shows. That's a weird combination of things. But yeah, I've just been focusing on all pro lines and writing jokes for the radio. Just keeping my head down.
So what's a corporate Zoom show? How's that work?
What's funny? You'll appreciate. I'll tell you this story briefly because you're a comic. You'll appreciate it. It's a company. It was in this case. It's a company that does product placement in movies and digital media and stuff. And so occasionally during the thing, I would just reach over and grab something with a label on it. I go, I got a spill, and I pulled like a whole Bounty thing like into the shot. Like it's the first and last time I've done prop comedy in like 25 years.
All right, I do want to ask you about daily fantasy and how do you get more obsessive with your season-long team or your daily team?
I've gone back and forth. In the past couple of years, I've kind of circled back to caring more about season long. I just find the arc of the season to be kind of a compelling thing. Plus, you're playing your buddies, and
right.
I've made a new rule that every week when I play in my old home league, I always text trash talk that guy during the course of the week. So it's been kind of a fun way to reconnect with dudes that I don't get to see very often, So I've enjoyed season long a little more, but we have a regular thing on I don't know if we're saying or aggravating a sponsor on one of the fantasy daily fantasy sites. We have a regular tournament that's just us guys too. So
that's what we do.
Well.
Yeah,
that's what we do. Yeah, we have the three of us in there. You can say whatever you want. They're not giving us money. We just use DraftKings because that's where we all had an account.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So if it's FanDuel or whatever, that's fine. Do you have any strategies that you use every week for daily fantasy?
Oh, man. I feel like probably an underrated part of daily fantasy is the little hiccups that the numbers can't fix later, right? When they set their prices, it's like early Sunday night. So I feel like there's margins to be ground out by, the news that happens between late Sunday night and the next kickoff. There's running backs that aren't playing. There's Monday night guys that go off and then they play in the Sunday slate, but their numbers haven't been adjusted yet. I feel like that's where there's a little value to be ground out,
That's a good tip. Yep.
Yeah.
Paying attention to the news about injuries. Somebody like this kid that I just suggested, I've already forgot his name.
Josh
the
Reynolds.
wide receiver on the Rams.
Yeah.
Right. If one of the other two Rams wide receivers is out, his target share skyrockets through the roof, and they can't readjust those prices. So all of those kind of stories I try to pay attention to.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to add that to draft Cole Beasley every week.
Yeah.
Which his number still, his price still hasn't gone up, and he's like the third leading receiver in the league.
He had a heck of a game over the weekend.
I feel like DJ Moore was that guy last year where he just every week was a monster and the price just didn't go up for like 2 months. It was crazy.
My first year it was Derek Carr. The first year I did daily fantasy. For whatever reason, Derek Carr had like 8 good weeks in a row. And the price was still $5,000 quarterback every time. And that's how I kept winning because I was like, I'm just going to take Derek Carr. He's going to have a good week.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, he's playing well. I guess the gamblers don't think so. So, yeah. All right. Any other questions for Kostaki?
No, if you don't mind, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but I love your bit about marriage, either ending in 2 ways.
Oh, marriage.
Could you share that?
Yeah, I read that 50% of marriages end in divorce. Oh man, I can't do jokes out of context. This is so weird. So we know in the end it's going to either end in death or divorce. So we're rooting for death. honey, I hope this ends in a death. That's how we know we won.
I love that, and it's spot on. It's so true. Yeah.
So I finally got to see Kostaki live last year in Atlanta at the Punchline, which is one of my favorite comedy clubs before it was in a diner, and now it is in the back of a diner, which makes it even better.
Less classy, more gritty.
Yeah, but it's a cool place. The Punchline I got to see there. That's kind of, would you call that the home club?
Yeah, that's my old home club. You know, in the old days, the Punchline was the brass ring. I was an open micer, and I would come down and sign up, and you would pray that they would pick your name out of the hat and get 4 minutes, and and everyone who's anybody came through that club. It opened in '83, and Robin Williams and Tim Allen, and when I was a young kid there, all the great comics were there, all the Brian Regans and Bobby Slaytons and Larry Millers, and I worked with all those guys. That place has always been sort of that's my original home club. Love it.
Yeah, I think Ron, your buddy Ron White's moving here to Texas.
Is that right?
Yeah, I've heard he's moving. Like, he's one of the many Hollywood people, but people who are living in California who've decided it's too expensive and they're going to come here and live. So
too expensive is not the problem for Ron White. He's doing okay. Ron's the only comic to ever take me on the private jet, with him to a gig. He's doing fine. I told you this story once before, but I'll tell these guys. I was hanging with Ron. I was doing 15 minutes, and then Ron would do like an hour and 20. It was just the two of us, and he sold out 2 shows of 2,000 people at Little Rock, and we're standing backstage looking at people coming in, and he goes, "Kostaki, tonight we're splitting the money right down the edge." I know, Ron.
You're all too familiar.
That's the way to travel, though, to get on. I mean, he literally doesn't pack. He literally doesn't bring a toothbrush. He pulls up to the airport. They have the private jet ready. There's 2 guys running around doing all the checks, and he just brings a hanging coat. He doesn't have a computer. He doesn't have to figure out how the internet works at the Holiday Inn. He does none of that. He does the show. At the end of the second encore, he keeps walking. He's very polite. Says goodbye to everybody. Into the car, into the plane, into the Mercedes, into the bed. He doesn't even stay in Little Rock that night.
Wow.
Did you stay? I mean, so did you pack thinking that this was going to happen? Like, you were gonna.
I had a weird thing where I was continuing west. And we left from Atlanta, so I went with him on the jet, and I got a hotel room, and then I went to LA after that. So I went with him for half of the journey, and hung with him. And I've also been on the bus with him. He also has a bus, and on the bus he's got all of his stuff packed into the drawers and everything. So it's like he gets into a little home that moves around. And what's nice about the bus is they could drive overnight, and he could sleep, and then he wakes up and he's in the right place. It's awesome.
That's the life.
I know, man. I know. You and I can't even. That's why I tell these stories, to give us all hope.
Yeah.
The rest of us are schlepping, it's a 10-hour drive to get to Oklahoma or whatever we're doing.
Yeah, Kostaki and I were talking the other night, and and he was driving through Macon, and Macon used to have it was just a terrible room. I mean, it was a rough room to play. It was, and so I remember doing the show in Macon, and then like whoever the club owner was, I can't remember. It's been almost 20 years now. I said, okay. So me and my friend were like, okay, do you have our hotel rooms? We got to go check in. He's like, nah, well, they know you. They'll know me over at the Motel 6. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Oh, nice.
So nice. Not only do I have this rough set, but now I have to contend with possibly getting bitten by a rat.
Yeah, that's right. That's comedy.
Yeah.
But there's range, like one of my favorite things ever. I did a competition for Comedy Central one time. They put me up at the W, and I had a penthouse suite right in the middle of, right across from UCLA. I had one of the most beautiful rooms I've ever seen. And the very next day, I was at the Motel 6 at the LAX. And I could literally smell crack in the hallway as I was going to my room.
Oh, nice.
Comedy keeps you grounded, that's for sure.
That's right.
Well, if we win the showdown,
we're
well on our way towards.
That's it. So even splitting it 4 ways.
Yes.
So you can stay in the W for 2 whole nights.
That's right. Hey, we stacked golf. How could we lose? You know why the Rams have bone uniforms? Because every time you believe in them, they bone you. That's why.
On Twitter @FunnyKostaki, also on Facebook, Kostaki Economopoulos. All pro lines coming out. I'm going to do some stuff for All Pro Lines. Very excited about that. Here's what I did. I'll tell you, Kostaki. I wrote like 5 things that was too chicken shit to say. I'm sorry, I cursed, but I was too scared. I was like, this isn't good. This is not good. This is the first week. This is getting it out.
No, I'm a comic. I know the deal. Send it. I could, might use half of one somewhere. It's fun. You should see all the jokes I write that I don't call and tell you.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah, I had 5 pieces of paper just thrown on the ground. Like, no, that's not right. Why can't Tim Tebow come back and play? This is easy.
Yeah, there's some stories that are great for comedy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Kostaki, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. And I'll let you know how we do in the Showdown League.
I'll be watching. I know the basics. All right, go team. Good luck, everybody.
All right, there's Kostaki Economopoulos.
Thanks, Kostaki.
Thanks, guys.
Find him on Twitter at Funny Kostaki. He's fantastic. Love that guy. I love that guy to death. We'll take a break right here. We'll come back. Let's run down daily fantasy and start him, sit him in the same segment because we've gone kind of long here. This is the Fantasy Football Show here on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to Sikkim 365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Welcome back into the Fantasy Football Show. Thanks to Kostaki Economopoulos. Great dude. Really fun dude. Yeah, great guy. I think our funny factor between him and Jarrett has been pretty good on our celebrity guests.
Yeah, we've been doing well.
So we can't get anybody who's boring now. We've set kind of a bar.
Yeah.
We can't give it as like, well, I think you should take Justin Jefferson because he's good. So we have to get more funny people on the show. All right, Daily Fantasy, Grayson, guys you like this week in DFS.
Yeah, I guess so if I'm going first here, I really like at the quarterback position. There's a few interesting names, I think, and there were some guys that had some big weeks last week that I don't necessarily think are going to repeat, but for guys that I do like, I like Matthew Stafford against Green Bay, and Steve kind of got this one right last week. He talked about maybe the Lions might put up some points, and a couple of them did. And
they won. I told them.
And they won. They did. And so Stafford is a guy who I think is going to have a pretty good week against Green Bay because they're probably going to be pretty far behind. I actually am okay playing Matt Ryan this week as well against the Chargers. That team looks horrific. They just lost 45-0 to New England last weekend. So those are a couple names that I like as far as lower down on the radar guys. At the running back position, I mentioned David Montgomery last week, and I'm fine paying the price for him this week as well. At 6,500, David Montgomery, I think, is a rock solid play the rest of this season. And he's looked a lot better since coming back from injury and since the matchups got better. Another guy that I really like, and Paul, I saw you played him as well. You took my advice last week, and I'm going to give it to y'all again. Jonathan Taylor against the Raiders. I think this is becoming his backfield. And the more he continues to prove it, the more that he needs to get even more touches, because every time I watch that team play, when he gets the ball, good things happen. And as long as Jordan Wilkins is taking carries, I mean, I'm going to be disappointed in the Colts because that's just ridiculous. At the wide receiver spot, some guys that I like, I'm going to try to go a little bit lower on the radar. And I'm actually going to go with another Colts guy who's on a bit of a hot streak right now. And that's T.Y. Hilton against the Raiders. He's coming in at 5,100. I mean, that is super cheap. I think he is a rock solid play. So I would definitely look into playing him. And then I'm trying to think. Oh, yeah. The other guy that I was looking at, and it goes along with my Matthew Stafford pick, is Marvin Jones Jr., especially if Kenny Golladay continues to miss. Marvin Jones has been really good this year and has 6 games where he's finished as a top 10 wide receiver. So I would definitely look his way as well.
All right, Steve, what do you got?
Yep, good stuff there. Quarterbacks, I do like Justin Herbert. This week they are playing Atlanta. I know they just got drilled last week, but that was against the Belichick defense, which is not the case when you're playing Atlanta. So I do like Herbert. I like all the Chargers this week in that game. I also like Tom Brady. Brady's only 6,900. They're playing Minnesota. Minnesota's defense isn't that great. The over-under is 51.5, so they are expecting some points to be scored there. So I like Brady. Running back, I like Austin Eckler. He's 7,000, which I think that's still on the low end for him. And he came back with a force. He actually had a good game for PPR and for DFS on Sunday. Zeke is only 6,600. They're playing Cincinnati.
He's got a bit of a calf issue.
A little bit, yes. You got to keep an eye on that. If they should hold him out for some reason, if they're going to tank, that we'll have to see. Then Tony Pollard would be a great pickup there against the Cincinnati defense. Myles Gaskin, Miami is only 5,600. Didn't do too well this past week. They're playing Kansas City. And, Miami could get down a lot, maybe end up throwing it. But I do think Gaskin has some value there if you want to get somebody that's on the cheap. And then receivers this week, I like Robbie Anderson for Carolina. He's only 6,200. Carolina is playing Denver at home. I like Cooper Kupp. Now that's a Thursday night game. But he's 6,500 if you're playing the Thursday night slate. And then Mike Evans, I already mentioned Brady. Evans comes in at 6,600. The corners for Minnesota are small, and Evans should have a height advantage there for the whole game. So I do like Evans this week. And then defenses, just real quick. I do like New Orleans. We already talked about them. San Francisco comes in at 2,700 to play in Washington. The over-under on that one is 43.5. So it should be a low-scoring game. So the 49ers, if you want to go cheap on defense, I think that'd be a good play.
All right. Before we get to stardom, sit-em, let's go to my college roommate Stacy's questions for the week. Robbie Anderson versus Denver or Marvin Jones versus Green Bay? Steve, I'll let you take this one first.
That's a tough one because I do expect Detroit to be behind, so that could give Jones some more chances. But I would lean a little bit towards Robbie Anderson.
All right, where are you, Grayson?
Yeah, this is Steve and I going head-to-head on our daily fantasy that we just talked about. If Kenny Golladay is not playing, then I'm going Marvin Jones all day, every day. I think he's the number one there, and I think there's a higher chance for more upside with him. The only thing I will say, though, that makes them almost even is that DJ Moore may not play in this game.
Yep.
So that's one thing to think about, but then also Christian McCaffrey's coming back. So I think that's also how you balance that out. I'd prefer to play Marvin Jones.
All right, 49ers defense against Washington or Panthers defense against Denver, or since he's streaming a defense, any other defense we're starting. Grayson, you take this one first.
Ooh, Panthers against Denver sounds like a very nice matchup to me. That Denver offense has been really bad. I'll go with that one. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but that one actually sounds pretty good. I do like what Steve said, Washington versus the 49ers. That's another intriguing one.
I like the 49ers, especially if Gibson doesn't play.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, see, like you're just confusing him more. It depends on which one he likes better.
Yeah.
He told me which one it is, but I'm not going to tell you.
Okay.
Either of you. I don't want you to sabotage him.
Okay.
Even though he did make the playoffs in our league, but this is obviously not that. The Jets, Ty Johnson, Washington's Peyton Barber, or the Rams, Cam Akers, are any of them worth burning a number one waiver spot?
That's a tough one. I mean, Ty Johnson came out of nowhere this past week with the Jets. I wouldn't go there because the Jets are they're losing every game the rest of the way. I think that call on the last play, even though it cost the defense coordinator his job, I can't stand him, but I think that was totally done on purpose to give the Raiders the win. So I would maybe, who's the first one? James Conner should be back this week.
But even when he was there, he wasn't running the ball.
But that's going to help a little bit in the passing game. But yeah, I think Claypool, you can start.
All right. Let's go to Stardom, Sit-em, Steve.
Okay.
What you got?
Real quick, quarterbacks. I do like Taysom Hill this week against Philadelphia. In fact, I'm thinking about picking him up on waivers for my playoff game. And I do like, I already mentioned Justin Herbert. Also like Tannehill against Jacksonville. I think that's a good play. Sit-em, it hurts me to say this, but Kyler Murray has burned me the last
he's got a bum shoulder, man.
2 weeks.
And it's obvious.
They're playing the Giants defense. The Giants defense is actually pretty good right now, so I'm really gun shy. Well, let me ask you all too, since you're out of the playoffs. So in this league that Paul and I are in, Grayson, I snuck into the playoffs. My two quarterbacks are Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield. Who would you play this week?
Oh, man. Who does Baker play this week?
Baltimore on Monday night.
I'd play Kyler.
In my opinion, you have to ride with the guy that got you there, and I think that he's in a better matchup. Personally, I don't think. I know the Giants have good defense on paper, but I'm going with Kyler. He gives you more upside with his feet too.
Okay, that's how I was leaning, but Baker
did throw 5 touchdowns last week.
Well, and see, that's the thing. Like he did that last week.
Yeah,
probably not going to do it again.
But the Baltimore defense is not the Baltimore defense of old.
No.
So
no.
But I do kind of agree with y'all. Running backs. I do like Gaskin. I already mentioned him. I do like Chris Carson. Mm-hmm. That should be a no-brainer to playing the Jets for Seattle. Do not like David Johnson with Houston going up against the Bears defense. I think that's a tough matchup. We already talked about Miles Sanders going up against the Saints. Mm-hmm. I think that's a tough one. And then receivers. I do like, I already mentioned Robbie Anderson. I think I have a feeling about him this week. Mike Evans, I think that's a great matchup. Corey Davis, who really started slow, but he's been playing well. They're playing Jacksonville. I think that's a good matchup.
Like both those receivers are worth playing there. Yep. And Derek, I mean, like that offense is really good in Tennessee.
Yep. And I do not like, I don't like Michael Pittman. He was kind of the hot name there for a while, and as Grayson mentioned, T.Y. Hilton has kind of reemerged as the guy there. So I think Pittman's window has closed a little bit there. And then another guy who's just caused me frustration, and I don't know why, because they throw it a ton. Mike Williams with the Chargers. He's had a couple of good weeks, but he's pretty much been non-existent. It's going to Keenan Allen and Hunter Henry.
Yeah.
So I'm not a big fan of Williams this week.
All right, Grayson, what do you got?
Yeah, so rolling through quarterbacks, I really like the matchup of Buffalo against Pittsburgh. I think Josh Allen and Big Ben could have pretty good games. I actually see this kind of being a little more high scoring. Pittsburgh's defense without Bud Dupree did not look as good. They're dealing with injuries. I just think both quarterbacks could have pretty solid games. As far as someone I don't really like this week, Derek Carr had a great performance last week. Let me reiterate, a great performance last week. He gets Indiana this week. I think the Colts just kind of stifle that offense a little bit, especially if Josh Jacobs isn't playing. At running back, I mentioned two guys, David Montgomery and Jonathan Taylor. I think those are both going to be potentially top 10 running backs this week. I also really like, if you go down on the lower on the radar, I guess, J.D. McKissic against San Francisco, especially if Antonio Gibson doesn't play, which seems likely. I really like McKissic this week. He's going to get a ton of touches, especially in PPR leagues. As far as guys I don't like, my expectations are pretty low right now for Miles Sanders against New Orleans. I just think that's going to be a really tough matchup for him. And also a guy that, again, I'm going to put a warning sign on, but you have to start him, is Alvin Kamara against Philadelphia. I don't know how high scoring that game is going to be. And Taysom Hill just takes away touches in the run game. So just caution there. You have to play him, but just proceed with caution with him. At the wide receiver position, this is an interesting week because there are actually some guys that are a little bit lower as far as projections go that I kind of like. So Brandon Ayuk for San Francisco, I like him. And I also like Deebo Samuel. Both of those guys have been rock solid. And with Kittle not being there, they're clearly the 1 and 2 options. T.Y. Hilton is the name that I mentioned a little bit earlier. I think that Chicago might be kind of mailing it in a little bit. And so Kiki QT, who had a nice week last week, he should get quite a few touches in that offense with Deshaun Watson airing it out as much as he has had to. And I'll quickly go through tight end. I think that this week, if you're going to look at some guys who maybe could have some big weeks, I like Mike Gesicki against Kansas City. I do think the Dolphins are going to be playing from behind. Gesicki caught a touchdown last week. I think he could be due for a pretty big week for that offense.
All right, guys, that's good stuff. Let me tell you, while we're wrapping the show, here's how my day started today. I was on a Bengals podcast, and the 2 of the 3 guys that do it, they do it with puppets.
Oh, how
Muppets.
How fun.
And it was funny, but it was weird. Where they're asking me questions about Jerry Jones. I'm trying to be informed, and I'm just watching this puppet talk to me. And I was like, am I is this real life?
Was it like, and
a Muppet, a Muppet.
Okay, I was going to say good puppets, not that there are, but or like the creepy church.
No, it was like a Muppet.
It was like the creepy church puppets from like the 70s and 80s.
No. It was like, it was a Muppet. Like I'm talking to a Muppet. Like one of the guys writes for SB Nation. The other 2 guys, I don't know what they do other than.
That's odd.
Yeah, and they have. It was. I was talking to puppets. So just so if you see that online. Okay. I was talking to puppets on a Bengals podcast.
Just one thing real quick as we're wrapping it up. This is a week to really, if you're going into the playoffs, pay attention to the weather in the games you're looking at, because we got games in Chicago this week. We got games in Buffalo,
Cincinnati,
and Cleveland.
Yeah.
So I would really look to see what the weather is going to be. Rainy, any kind of snow, high winds. I actually think the weather in that Houston-Chicago game is supposed to be kind of iffy. So just pay attention to it. That might, if you're on the fence about starting someone over someone else, look at the weather. That might be the deciding factor for you.
All right, we've got a few more weeks of the show, guys. We got to finish strong.
Yes.
So we're in the playoffs just like you are. For your questions, go ahead and send us, at Paul Cadlina, at Centex Commish, at Gray Grundhaver on Twitter. Send us questions. We'll answer them for the playoffs. We're here to help you win. That's what we want. We want all of our viewers to be winners.
Yes.
Because we don't truck with losers. We don't do that. If you're a loser, we don't do it. Hey, Armstrong, quick check on you. Playoffs this week, or are you already in the playoffs?
I'm in the playoffs. I won round 1, so now I'm in the final 4.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Good deal. Congratulations. Good deal. You're welcome, Armstrong.
Yes, thank you.
So you're assuming that we have listeners next week after your potty mouth for this episode.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yes.
We're on YouTube. We're on YouTube.
We offended all 10 of our listeners.
It's fine. It's fine. We're fine.
No, I don't.
Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't have brought it up again. People wouldn't have known. I mean, just call attention to it. All right. That's going to do it for us here on the Fantasy Football Show. Thanks to Brotherwell Brewing and Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. We're back again next week. Have a great week, everybody.